Could you imagine producer Rebecca was with us when we did that podcast for a couple of days in Spain?
Oh yeah, that wouldn't have been very good.
It's funny how you go from producer Rebecca to producer Bex. I feel like we don't know who I am yet.
Okay, it's Rebecca Horan.
Well, we're slowly unraveling that as we go.
Unboxing you.
Unpacking.
Oh, it's
But do you know who you are yet?
Who knows?
Rebecca Horan, award-winning podcaster.
Okay, so
Award-winning podcast.
She's the number one podcast in Denmark.
not so Christian Brothers.
Sorry.
Get in line. We have a DM.
Okay.
Another one?
Yeah.
It's from and I'm not going to say their name. Actually, no, I will. It's like it doesn't matter, does it?
Well, I don't know if they said they want to be anonymous or.
They
They
didn't.
put their name in.
Okay, well, I saw one that came in yesterday, and somebody said that we can actually use their name.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, Jack Branston, right? So he is
Jack who?
Okay, just leave it now.
Like a porn star.
He has said, reading a lot lately about how men lie easily and how it's research based. And he said, do you agree? Doesn't it sound like bullshit? Do you agree that men lie easily?
It depends on the bed.
Same parents, different timelines, and united by chaos. Strap on, strap in, for the not-so-Christian brothers.
I'm not going to lie to you, but is that the way? It's great the way people start conversations like that. I'm not going to lie to you, but
You know there's something negative coming when that comes in.
And you know the guy that goes, I'm not a racist, but, and you go, well, yeah you are. So do you want to start this one about lying? Why not?
Because I think you lie more easily.
I do. I can lie very easily. Now, I think everyone has a give, don't they? Do you know, like in cards, that you have this give that, you know, when you're bluffing. And Anne would always say, I have a give when I'm lying. So she'll just catch me. She'll know immediately. And I mean, you remember all the kids. Remember kids used to lie to you all the time. Well, Holly did. But I'd always say she had a give because I knew she was lying. But I'd say, no, I can see the give. Your ear flicks slightly when you're lying.
Holly, this isn't judgment.
And then she would go, oh my God, you've caught me. Yes. Okay, the vodka's under the bed. You know, and I go, yeah, I know. Because I would have found it and drank it. But I'm skirting the issue really, aren't I? I think we do. I think men do lie. Sorry, I read recently that if we didn't lie, the world would absolutely collapse. That society would collapse. That there would be absolutely no reason to exist. And no society can exist on the truth. So we have to lie. So if we don't keep it up, and society's gone.
So men are basically playing a bigger part here.
Absolutely, 100%. And women know that. You know what I mean? Like if we told...
They're lying to themselves if they don't.
If we told the truth all the time, don't they say on average we tell about 120 lies a day, right? If we tell the truth the whole time, things are going to... Like if I went into work tomorrow to do the breakfast show and I told everybody absolutely what I thought about them and about the stuff that's going on, and I told people the truth about what somebody else said about them, what happens? Chaos, pure and absolute chaos. It's really important to lie.
But also, I think the reality is, right, you have whatever, the stat is like 90,000 thoughts a day and 90% of them are negative, right?
Yeah.
So we have this constant negative narrative that plays off in our own head that's telling us you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not good enough, you're not big enough, you're not fat enough or tall enough or skinny enough or whatever, right? So I think in our defense as humans, we have to actually find a way to make ourselves feel good, but also everything that we say in reality goes right back to tribal times, right? You know, we had to stay in the tribe. So a lot of the times what we're actually saying is things that we hope will resonate well with other people to keep us in the tribe.
Yes.
And I think men, from a primal standpoint, are more about staying in the tribe. Because if you think about it, women weren't put out of the tribe in olden times because they had the capacity to keep procreating and bringing more tribe members. We could be just thrown out.
So we learned the capacity to lie, to stay in the tribe.
I think we did. I think that is a seminal moment for survival.
But if we look at society right now, from the very top, we'll mention Trump again, to the Benjamin Netanyahus, to everybody else, from the very top of society to the very bottom, we constantly lie. Like Trump's never going to tell the truth about what he really thinks, right? He tells us what he thinks, but not what he really, really thinks, and it's the same. I mean, for validation amongst our work, our work colleagues, we don't really, really tell the guy we're sitting next to what we really think about him. Half of the time we tell him or her what we think they want to hear us saying.
Yeah, but
and that's the news as well. The news is coded that way.
I think everything is coded that way. And I think that's just, again, it is this glue the whole society together, because we don't really want to know how people really feel about us. So on one hand, we're like, I wonder if they really care about me. And then we play the whole dance around what I have to do to be cared about. But if they really said, actually, you're a bit of a knob, it will be a big problem, right?
Exactly.
So all of us have our foibles. Like, we all have the things that people don't like about us. And I don't think you can change the lying part, but I think what happens today or in society now, and especially in the last couple of years, it's gone turbocharged, because now you have like people like Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu creating massive lies. And then also just nonsense. Like, I mean, Trump's soundbite last week was that he's going to reduce drug prices not by 50%, but by 1,000%, and maybe 2,000%, and maybe 500%. Now, I don't actually believe, despite the fact that the left-wing people and media were saying, "Oh, he doesn't even understand percentages." I think he understands percentages. I think he knows if he just comes out with mad lies, everybody gets incensed. But actually, everybody's lying all the time.
Of course they are. So I don't think it's men lie easier. I don't think it's women lie easier. I think we all need to lie. There's obviously lies that are unnecessary. And then there's the daily necessary lies that just keeps this society chugging along. I mean, look at Instagram. Look at social media. It's a huge lie. Very rarely we see people. Actually, it's weird. Very rarely we see people when they're at a desperate part of their life. But then when we do see them at a desperate part of their life, I almost think they're color coding it even darker because they know they're doing it on social media. So the woe is me becomes the, oh my God, the woe is me. And then the happy holiday with the family becomes, oh my God, we're the happiest people in the entire world. And both sides are lying. And I know the people telling us about their mental health issues on Instagram. But if you've got a mental health issue, why are you telling it to so many people who don't understand you or know you? There's people, there is professionals to use. So I think we're just constantly lying, possibly for validation, because we don't know who we really are and we don't know why we're here.
True. I do think people talking about their mental health on social media is really helpful, because I think people.
I'm scared about that.
Well, I think there's a bigger issue where people don't talk about it, and I think
they can talk about it, but not necessarily on social media.
Well, no, but I think social media normalizes it and allows people to speak. I think it teaches people that there is safety and you can speak. There may be in households where they can speak about their mental health, and I think from a male perspective, I think where women have a better angle, and from a male health perspective, like one of the challenges is if two female friends meet each other and they go, "Hey, how are you?" "Oh yeah, grand, yeah, good. How are you?" "Oh, not really great. There's been a thing, and my husband did this, and my kids are doing that." This type of dynamic happens. Two men meet each other. "Hey, how are you?" "Good, great. How are you?" "Great, yeah, super." There is no space or capacity for men to be really honest with each other. And all the conversations that happen in the pub are all recounting, do you remember when we did that when we were 18, when we were 19, when we were 20? I think there is a lot of truth in the message. And I think a big part of that is that men don't know how to be honest in good ways. I think there's lots of lies that are important. I don't disagree with you. But I also think when it comes to our mental health, if we don't talk, we're in trouble.
No, I'm not. Okay, yeah. So I totally agree. We need to talk about mental health, and there needs to be a normalcy of it. I just think there's some corners of the Instagram and that where men or women talk about their mental health. It's almost a validation of something that's going on, and they shouldn't be doing it on social media. They really need to deal with that outside of a camera. that other people are looking into
I
us.
don't think you can even make that statement because how do you discern who's telling the truth and who isn't?
That's my opinion, and I think there's some people that's my opinion. But what I'm saying about lying is right when we go down to lying, there's a huge difference between honest. Sorry, the opposite of lying is not telling the truth, and I think that's where men or women, I believe, get it wrong. They think the opposite. Stop lying and just tell me the truth. I don't think they're the opposites. I don't think they're the opposite sides of the coin. And I think that lying is so... The truth doesn't exist, okay? There is no truth. There is no single truth. But there is a single lie. And I think that's where in society we get a bit confused. We think that the answer to not lying is telling the truth. And I don't believe there is a single truth to a single thing.
I watched a great movie last night, Herrick. Herrick, like a heresy.
Okay.
With Hugh Grant, where he has these two girls knocking his door.
I haven't watched it.
And they're Mormons
in his house. Yeah.
And it's all about, is there one truth? Is there one religion? I think at our core, like go back to our tribal times, I think humans desperately want to know that there is one truth. There must be one reason. Why do I exist? What happens? Yeah. And I think we're in the pursuit of some element of truth, validation, as you put it. I think we all want that, right? And we all think it's going to happen at some point. But in reality, nobody's coming to save you. This is just your shit show.
Yeah,
and we all have to try and find our way through it. Now, sometimes we need help, admittedly. But in reality, what we're trying to do when we're lying is generally trying to ease our way through life. So I think, do men lie more? I think maybe they do. But I think also we're just trying to find a way through this. And I think, women... You weren't getting thrown out of the tribe. I think, you were making babies and we can't yet. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Maybe we can.
I think it's easier.
I don't think we can.
I think it's easier to get through life with the occasional lie than the occasional truth. Yeah.
I think truth is a dangerous place to get to.
It's a dangerous world to live in. Yeah. Have we answered them, do you think?
Colm.
Yes. Oh, no.
You are on a deserted beach. You've just ended up there.
Yeah.
And you spot a chap and he is a very, very aesthetically pleasing. So very attractive.
Deserted then, is it?
In a generic, what people would perceive being very attractive, perhaps very muscular. And he is sitting there in his swim shorts and just sitting on a again, guys.
Homoerotic. I mean, we did like the marriage erotic
Can
last
you stay
week.
focused?
Wow.
And he's a very attractive young guy in his swim shorts, sitting on a rock. He's also on his own. It's deserted. And you are going to strike up a conversation with him. Justin, you are going to strike up a conversation with...
Give him a nun. Give him a nun. A deserted nun. In her swim shorts.
Okay.
And she's very athletic. And her suit.
Focus.
Okay, focus.
Sorry.
A middle-aged woman who is pregnant. So a woman, maybe in her 40s, who is sitting there on the rock in a dress and she is obviously pregnant. Off you go.
You're first.
Well, hey, how'd you get here? What's your story, buddy? I know swim shorts are tight. You know what I mean?
I'd start my conversation exactly the same way.
Well, I don't know, but maybe if it was like, could I not just sat down beside the guy on a bus?
All right, so we're having a serious conversation with these people. I would be interested in her journey to this point. I would say if it's a noticeable pregnancy, the big challenge in this context is referencing somebody who may or may not be pregnant.
Yeah.
So I think I will be quite guarded before I would question whether or not she is pregnant. I have been there before many years ago and it wasn't pleasant. So, I think you got to be careful about how you do that. So I think I would be engaging in a conversation with her like I would anybody else. And I think I probably would be starting with, what brought you to this beach? How are you? It's a beautiful day. It's a sunny day. I think anybody that you find sitting on a beach has got there because they're probably in some state of contemplation. And if you're the only person with them,
They might tell you to feck off.
But well, exactly. But I also think you can, by where we live in the North Beach in Greystones, it's completely isolated because it's a dead end after 2.5 kilometers. So you often meet people up there, and the conversation I generally have with them is, "Do you want to talk, or are you enjoying the silence?"
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking of it as a deserted island like Robinson Crusoe, but it's a deserted beach, like just a beach. So the car could be still in the car park or whatever. And it is funny the way sometimes people just sort of open up to you. And I don't know why they do that. And I don't know whether you get them at this particular moment, that if you get them 10 minutes later, they won't say the same things. I'm thinking of 2 years ago, Anne and myself were in Cos. We went into this shop to buy fiddly diddlies, you know what I mean? Like a painting or something. You know what I mean? Just probably from Temu originally or whatever. But it was of a sunset scene in Cos. And the American woman was there who ran the shop. And I went, oh, wow, God, it's a strange accent. I said, you've got that sort of Greek-American, accent. And then she started telling us her entire story. Now, when I mean her entire story, we couldn't get out of the shop for 20 minutes because her story went incredibly dark. And this is honest about domestic abuse and how she had to get out of Harlem or Bronx or somewhere. And then he followed her over and she had to get his brothers to... And I'm still holding this Sunset and Cost canvas thinking, do I really want this or not? And Anne is literally sitting down with this woman giving her advice. And I'm thinking, isn't it weird the way... Was it the setting? Was it this tiny little shop in this tiny little island? We're on the island of Calimenas. And she hasn't had anyone to talk to during the day. Because then she started telling, her dad had died 2 weeks before. So it was like the guy... It's like as I said to the guy on the deserted beach, how are things? And he just told me, wait till I tell you. Isn't it sometimes, because you said there you met a guy recently on the walk on Greystones and the two of you stopped for half an hour and now you're friends on LinkedIn and everything. And it's just, it is weird the way sometimes people just, boom, just open up.
But I think there's also a great ability for humans to talk to strangers because, it's nice. There's less likelihood of judgment. And I think, if you think about your character on the beach, I think for attractive men, and, I know a bunch of men who will be perceived as being attractive and, they did well in their youth with women and all that kind of stuff.
Thanks.
And neither of those people are in this room, right? But I think the perception that we all have is that you have it all together, and I think no matter who you are or what you are, everybody's trying their best, right? Like life is hard. Like for the pregnant lady on the beach, I think entering into a conversation with her is just about listening, right? And seeing what they have to say. Like I always find, from my own perspective, I don't really have an awful lot to say. I know that's hard to believe on this podcast, but when I'm talking to people, I don't really get into talking. I love hearing what they've got, what's going to happen next.
You are a listener. You are definitely a listener, and there's times there's a thing, isn't there, in life that people hate silences and they'll fill them very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I know lots of people men who are attractive, who other men would think, oh yeah, look, Hollywood kind of celebrity looks and good body and nice kind of facial bone structures and all that kind of good stuff. But when you peel behind that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? Good looks or money don't determine happiness. And I think meeting a good-looking man on the beach, I think for a lot of men it can be super intimidating to think, how do I speak to somebody who's very good looking, who has a good body, but it's still a human who's probably hurting and trying to figure his stuff out too. Like we're all just trying to figure our stuff out, aren't we?
I think you made an interesting point when you were saying that it's easier sometimes, or not easier. It's almost nicer sometimes to talk to a stranger than your best mate or your wife, or sometimes just that conversation on a plane is just an eye-opening conversation because you're not bringing anything to it. you possibly will take something away from it, but you may never see that person again. And what they tell you is like, whoa. I'm thinking of a conversation on an airplane I had coming back from Kos. And I had my headphones on, and Anne was sitting there, and there was a guy, and Anne wasn't well coming back from Kos, and there was a guy sitting beside her, a man sitting beside her. And she had a problem with her seatbelt, and he leaned across and helped her. And he was seemed like a nice guy around my age, right? And I was
80.
Yeah, I was watching a TV show or something like that, and they started chatting, and I thought, this is great, that's grand. Off they go. Could be about anything. And he spoke about he within a couple of minutes he not guessed, Anne had opened up about having cancer to him, and why this guy, I don't know. I asked her later, why was it that moment? And he was on holidays in Kos on his own, because his wife had just died from cancer 3-4 months before. And I took off the headphones and I realized that conversation was going on, and I put my headphones back on immediately. I thought, this isn't the space or the time for me to get in here. This could be great for both of them. And he was telling Anne about how he dealt, his wife's cancer came on really fast. He was aggressive. She was dead within 6 months. And he'd been with her for like 40 years, and, you know, how he was dealing. This was his first holiday away, and he enjoyed the company of strangers while he was away, because he didn't have to be the mate who just lost his wife. He could just be the guy having the beer. And then he was a real comfort to Anne, because she was able to tell him things that she wouldn't say to me, and so, even though I was sitting right beside her. It's really weird. It was quite, I found it quite strange, but really cathartic for her. And then Anne went to the toilet, and I took my headphones off, and I said to him, he went, I don't know if you, and I went, I'm going to be honest, I heard everything, because I didn't really have the volume on. And I said, man, I'm so really sorry for you. And he said, look, listen, you're going through some shit at the moment as well. And it's just nice. Thank you so much. Your honesty was just crazy. It was really, really good. And that's when he said, sometimes I can only say it to people I don't know. I thought, wow, that's really cool. And they shared numbers, Anne and himself. And he actually said to Anne, make sure you give my number to Colm, because I think there's someday he'll need it. And I was on a flight. I thought, wow, it's really good.
Yeah.
And that's sort of that conversation of the person, the stranger. That's the stranger, you know?
But I think that's the thing, right? Everybody's going through their stuff all the time. There's always the thing. And really, what we all love in life is just to be kind of seen, heard, and understood without judgment. Like, there's a great study into people looking into prams and pushchairs and strollers with babies, and why do humans love to look at babies? And the study found that the biggest thing that we find most appealing is that we can have a human being who looks back at us, and we're not thinking about, does he think I'm too fat? Does he think I'm too tall? So there's a depth of connection. We want to see into another human person's eyes, but we don't want to feel judged.
Yeah.
So we're constantly caught in this idea of judgment. And I could imagine, like, to go back to the lady on the beach, like, I wouldn't address the fact that she's pregnant, because I don't really think it's relevant. Like, if you're in your 40s, your 30s, your 20s, whatever, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, I know lots of people in their 20s who've gone through multiple miscarriages. So the pain of that interaction needs to be decided by the person who's suffering, whether or not they want to bring it to the fore. So he beautifully did, right? And created an immense conversation. I mean, really deeply profound between you guys. And I think, you know, it's also hard, like, I'm sure it's hard for Anne to start to articulate your voice around how she feels and what's going on with her. And then for you to try and hear her speak about that as well. Like, for both of you to be in that space on 3 seats on a plane, is really, it's like a play.
I said that to Anne. I said, why did that happen? I'm not into these things happen because they have to happen. You know, I'm not into that sort of juju, you know. It just happened.
God intervened, but okay.
But yeah, it just happened. But because it happened, you're right. It was like a mini play. I was almost like my head, while I was watching the TV show, was almost writing the screenplay of this, because it really was just, it was the slice of 3 people's lives within 2 hours. And it was like, wow. And it only could have happened. Like if that was Anne's sister sitting there for the 4 hours or 3 hours, or my mate, or you, or anybody else, or Rebecca, that conversation couldn't have taken place. It could only have taken place with a stranger who then had a shared part of their life with us.
And I think that interaction is key. And like if I to reference the conversation with the woman in her 40s on the beach, the one thing that kind of strikes me about that is it makes me think about our mother when she was 40, pregnant on me, and she didn't want to have any more kids. She had 4, 2 boys, 2 girls. So you've no idea what's going through anybody's mind. And I think if I think about her and I think about how she would have been feeling at those times, she had big challenges in the context that it was 1975. You couldn't abort your kids. You this was it. You served up what you got. So I think we can't question people. We can only be there to see if there is an interchange. And if there is, great. And if there isn't, then it's just, hello, how are you?
Exactly, yeah. But there will be a moment when it is big, yeah.
YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or multiple other platforms wherever you are. And if you don't know already, we should now be, hopefully, fingers crossed I'm saying this, we should be also streaming our video podcast on Spotify. So hopefully that's working by now. But please hop on over and have a look.
And Saturday is the After Show Probe.
After Show Probe.
It'll be an interesting one.
It's going to be hard to
I'm
criticize
more
that.
reflective about this show.
Okay, thank you for listening, guys.